Okay, hey, this is my first time trying to go live and figure out what exactly is going on. Talking about U.S. soccer, uh, things that are bugging me right now, mostly with Greg Berhalter. uh, U.S. soccer had a great week. Actually, they played fantastically, probably the best I've ever seen them play. Um, Pretty close to ever. Really excited. The downer that I really had was right after the Mexico game started, hearing the news about Greg Berhalter. I'm hearing a lot of crazy things. What people are saying and justifying this hire. It makes absolutely no sense to me, other than it was the easiest hire for U.S. soccer. Easiest to keep going. They're saying it's not business as usual. This is exactly what business as usual looks like. Um, there's one thing that really rubbed me wrong, which 11 Yanks talked about on Twitter. I'll pull it up here. Um, Bear with me, please. So Crocker, I'm just going to read this piece real quick. Crocker's hiring process used a data model based on pressuring metrics, team age, on-field performance, and other factors to identify candidates. He mentioned Berhalter, this is in quotes, pretty much set the data model, unquote, during the previous World Cup cycle, which was curious to know added the Federation's attempts to convince the public that Berhalter was the best possible candidate for the job. Now, there are people who are online trying to say that Berhalter didn't set the data points. Uh, I likened it to Berhalter basically was hiring himself. Now, people are misunderstanding this. This does not mean Greg Berhalter went to U.S. Soccer and went, hey, if you're going to hire a coach, it needs to meet this criteria, this criteria, this criteria. And then U.S. Soccer went, oh, it just so happens to be that you meet all those criteria. Will you be coach of the U.S. men's national team? That is not what it means. What it means is in the last cycle, U.S. Soccer saw what Greg Berhalter was doing, and they went, oh, we like this, we like this, we like this, all those things that he is doing. We're going to use these data points to set the bar on what we want in a coach. Well, of course, the data points that Greg Berhalter set with the team that he took to the World Cup is going to exactly align and point you to Greg Berhalter. Makes absolute so we use data points that Greg Berhalter himself created while coaching U.S. Soccer to pick our coach. So obviously, it's going to point directly to Greg Berhalter. Um, this is where I think this was all a sham. You saw it all on Paramount Plus's uh, pregame, postgame, all the and the people they invited, even Gooch, they're trying to justify and really sell us on this hiring. It's not that Greg Berhalter is a bad coach. He's not the coach that will take us to the next level. We're not. I don't think he's the coach that's going to take us to a quarterfinal, to a semifinal. I can't think of one performance that I was absolutely inspired by while he was the coach. And what I mean is, when Bob Bradley was the coach in 2009 at Confederations Cup, when the U.S. beat Spain, that game made me really believe that that team could do something special. That what Bob Bradley was doing was was good and what fit our players, what made us reach our maximum potential, or at least have the opportunity to meet our maximum potential. Uh, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That is anyway. Um, it it doesn't make any sense. I don't also believe that they interviewed top coaches from across the world. We have only heard two names: Jesse Marsh and Patrick Vieira. Those are the only two names that we know of. Two. Uh, That's it. They said they interviewed these other coaches, their top managers from top leagues. Uh, Greg Berhalter, I was listening to Men in Blazers. They heard things that Berhalter's agent was trying to get him jobs and interviews with teams over in England, and it wasn't working, not even in the championship. Um, Premier League, everyone said no. Championship, sounds like it wasn't going that great. Um, so if you're telling me a top coach in a top league is interviewing for the job, and we pick Greg Berhalter, who can't get a job in a top league. I mean, it sounds like he might have had the job with Club America and Liga MX's, but Liga MX's is good. I think it's a little bit above MLS, but it's not a top league. It's not a top league at all. This makes absolutely no sense to me. I wish people would help me figure this out. And it's not that and I'm not even going into personal stuff with Greg Berhalter. I don't want to go into that. It's purely coaching. Let's go. Team selection is one of the big things that was wrong. He started to get it more right towards the end. World Cup qualifying wasn't great. Team tactics, just based off of those two things, is not great. Under Greg Berhalter, it was easy to see what we were doing. We would send the ball wide, then just try to cross it in. And you'd see Serginho Dest, Anthony Robbins just bombing down the field, trying to get down to cross the ball in. And sometimes they had okay crosses. Most of the time, they did not have decent crosses. But that's what our tactics were. And if we couldn't get it down that one side of the field, we'd then go back, pass it back to our center backs, and then we try to work it around to the other side of the field. This is why it was so easy to defend against the United States, and it was easy for the Netherlands just to sit back, wait for us to make a mistake, and then just nail us on the counterattack, because they knew if you couldn't get it down the wing, they'd pass it back to the center backs and then try to go back around to the other side and just send a cross in where they could just have uh, Virgil van Dijk, who is tall, he's strong. It's going to be hard to get across in there and him not win the ball. So it was much easier for the Netherlands to defend against us once they realized that, and then they could just do their counterattack with the speed that they have. Gakpo, Memphis Depay, they could just go right up against us. Those are two things of Greg Berhalter's that has got to get better. Obviously, he's our coach. We'll see what happens. He's got big work to do with Gio Reyna. I mean, if I'm Gio Reyna, I'm not thrilled about this hire. It is not great. Yes, here's the thing that I keep hearing on Twitter. One, Gio Reyna was injured. And two, he had a bad attitude and was walking around in practice. Here's the problem with that: if he is injured, why is he in practice and just walking around? So it's either he was injured and he shouldn't have been doing a lot of stuff at practice, just doing recovery stuff, not playing in scrimmages, and not just walking around. Or it was he had a bad attitude and he was walking around in practices with a bad attitude. You can't have it both ways. It's either he was injured and he wasn't practice, and he shouldn't have been practicing, or he was walking around with a bad attitude. One, if he's walking around with a bad attitude, he apologized to the team. Okay, and I would, if I'm the coach, I go, okay, you're probably not playing in the first game, which he didn't. Okay, that should be punishment enough. If his attitude changed and everything, then he should play in the next game and get moving, so on and so forth, which we didn't do. Two, we play Gio Reyna in the wrong position with Greg Berhalter every time. We put him on the wing where he just has to run and cross the ball. There's no room for creativity. There's no room for anything to do to break down the lines for us to create chances. In this last week against Mexico and Canada in Nations League, we saw what Gio Reyna can do in the center of the field. Okay, he has to be in the midfield to create, to get in those spaces, to get in between the lines, to pass the ball, to make game-breaking passes. To Balogun now, who is unbelievable. He is a next level 9 that the U.S. I think has never had before, and should, with the right coaching, and let's hope Berhalter can get the right coaching, because it's clear U.S. soccer does not care about the fan base and what they think, and they do not care that much about results. If they, because they basically said it in the press conference that he's going to be the coach to the 2026 World Cup. Even if we go to Copa America and just bomb out of the group stage, they made it sound like it is just going to be Greg Berhalter. So that's kind of what we're stuck with. I also heard somebody else talking about how, like, if you don't think these interim coaches were just using Berhalter tactics, you're crazy, which are silly is the way they put it. Listen, it's silly to think that after watching Greg Berhalter for the past 3 years coaching, and then watching what we've done in the last 2 games, and think that it was the same tactics is silly and naive. You have not been watching us play in the last 3 years. Gio Reyna was never in the middle of the field. We never, ever played this well with those tactics. You see our defenders, especially against Canada. Jorginho Dest wasn't playing against Canada, but against Mexico, he was getting up the field, but not as much as he normally does. Same with Anthony Robinson. And against Canada, both Scally and Robinson stayed back. That is not what we did under Greg Berhalter at all. And you didn't see us do the, okay, we have possession, back to the center backs, back around, the whole horseshoe look of possession. You did not see that in these last 2 games. Even when they're dominating possession, you didn't see that. They're moving the ball, trying to find spaces to get in and behind the defense to give us chances. Yes, there were crosses. Timothy Weah destroyed the right side of the field in both Mexico and the Canadian game. Did fantastic. That guy is our lockdown starter on the right wing. It shouldn't even be a question. His speed is unbelievable. He should get a move. He shouldn't keep playing with Lille in Serie A if they're just going to play him in not Serie A, in the French league. If they're just going to keep playing him as the right back, it's a waste of that guy's talent. He's so fast. He's so good on the ball. He does send in good crosses. He does create opportunities. So let's just hope he keeps doing it for the U.S. for a long time. Man, these are just a few. I have more thoughts, but I could go on forever, and I got stuff to do. This is my first time trying to do a live stream. Obviously, no one's watching right now, but that's okay. Let's see if we can get this going, get more people involved, and go from there. But it's nuts. I just don't see how U.S. Soccer could interview top managers and decide that Greg Berhalter was the best choice for this team. Just if you think back in the last 3 years, what game really made you think, oh, Greg Berhalter's the guy? Greg Berhalter has this team playing above its talent, above its ability. What game inspired you to think, man, there's a chance that this team can do something special? It was the bare minimum what Greg Berhalter did. We qualified by third place in World Cup qualifying on goal difference. Goal difference. That's how close we were to have to play in a play-in game. And let's not forget that. We almost had to play a play-in game to get to the World Cup based off of goal difference. Okay? Greg Berhalter lost in Panama for the first time. The U.S. Now I don't think we've ever won. I think it's always been a draw, but we lost in Panama for the first time with a garbage lineup. Okay, go back and look at that lineup. It was not good. Not good. Okay, so we barely qualified. We had poor performances in World Cup qualifying. And then when we get to the World Cup, let's face it, that was not the strongest group in the World Cup. Okay, we the expectation was we get out of that group. Okay, so bare minimum, we get out of the group. Okay, we did that. Okay, we lost in the round of 16. Now the Netherlands is a great team, but that was a beatable team if we were willing to try to do some things a little bit differently, but we were not. We stuck with our tactics. Okay, Louis Van Gaal said it. We just kept doing the same thing, and he said it was basically pretty easy to play against us because we were just going to stick with our tactics and do the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's nuts. So that's about it. I would like to try to get on here or maybe even Twitter Spaces and interview other people who are like in Twitter soccer. I want to learn more about them, how they get involved in soccer. Have they always been a fan? When they become fans of U.S. soccer? What's made them so passionate? Where they grew up? What about this upcoming cycle makes you excited? What things makes you disappointed? Things like that. I would really like to get to know people. So I've been hitting a few people up on Twitter to see if that's something they might be interested in doing. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks. Like, subscribe, and I'm gonna try to just make this a soccer channel and just do little things and see what's going on. This is very, I'm not gonna lie to you, very archaic. I don't know how to do thumbnails. I don't know how to do all this other stuff. I barely figured out how to do this live stream. So yeah, like, subscribe, leave a comment, um, hit me up if you want to talk about soccer. Hit me up. Let's see if we can make a time. Let's talk about soccer on YouTube. I don't care. Sounds like a good time to me. Uh, yeah. So have a good day. I got things to do. I got an appointment to go to. Peace out.